This is without doubt one for the ages, something that we will look back very fondly on. The events that transpired earlier on this week with Nicola Thinlips meeting the Croatian ambassador to discuss how we can work together on the European agenda for some fucking reason. Coastal waters and coastline waters, island communities, and of course our changing populations. No elaboration, of course, you're expected to use your imaginations. What could she possibly mean? Is this the so-called unique demographic circumstances that Scotland finds itself in? Is that a reference to the record low birth rates? Or perhaps she's referring to the hypothetical population of the future, once she's got the ability to do and say she pleases migration-wise. Because bear in mind, for all their alarmist pish about demographic projections, it's almost always followed up with some shite about enrichment, and or Scotland being a welcoming namby-pamby nation. It's almost as if they want mass migration purely to live up to the reputation that they've created. So-called demographic challenges are just excuse that they hide behind. And for good reason, because the public don't agree. Last time I checked anyway. As per usual, we're really asked, not that it would make a blind bit of difference, what Nicola Thinlips wants, Nicola Thinlips gets. Our fucking changing population. Why the fuck are people not catching on to what's going on here? It's beyond me. Not only has Scotland had the ability to attract people from within the EU for decades, they've also had the ability to attract people from within the UK itself. So you'd think, if there was concerns regarding demographics, somewhere down the line, something would have been done, or at the very least attempted, throughout the duration of the past 12 years they've been in leadership. But it's easier to do nothing at all, and blame Westminster at the earliest convenience. Am I right? Point in case, Big Benny migrant bootlicker McPherson was in Elgin today to discuss the UK government's immigration policy proposals with Moray businesses and the council. The UK government's plans do not provide adequate solutions for Scotland's needs. Scotland's needs, as if he gives a shit about Scotland's needs. You've had 12 years to take Scotland's so-called needs into consideration, Benny boy. And what have you done? Nothing. Granted, Scotland isn't where the majority of the immigrants that enter the UK annually wish to settle, but that doesn't justify completely avoiding native birth incentive and or marriage incentive. You can't even bring yourself to mention it in passing when you talk about population decline. It's as if you're making a conscious decision to actively avoid mentioning it. Too busy promoting feminism, too busy promoting the LGBT and the T to give a rat's ass about the future of our people. Our changing population. And it sure will be changing when they import a bulk of people from Africa and the Middle East to slot in nicely where we die out. Because let's just give them the benefit of the doubt for a second. And let's just say that throughout the past 12 years or so, they've tried everything that they could in terms of trying to attract EU nationals over, as well as UK citizens, but to no avail. Then it would stand to reason that these issues would still persist if they were able to retain freedom of movement post-Brexit. But it's not the aforementioned freedom of movement that they're trying to obtain, is it? That's not what they're crying about. Because that would limit their reach to those within the EU. And if their crybaby routine is anything to go by, in case you haven't noticed, that's not been working out so well. They want the ability to attract from further afield. There's a pattern that's been emerging as of late, and I'm surprised more people haven't caught on to it yet. The SNP are nothing other than a puppet party for the UN. They're pushing the sustainable development BS, and one of the goals is all about safe and regular and orderly migration. You've got a bunch of migrants pretending to be refugees that all seem to have the same script in mind, telling the cameras with their little heartfelt pleas that they want a better life. We're being told that our populations are aging, no encouragement to have children, so it stands to reason the overpopulated places are going to see people making a run for it. And where are they going to go? Well, who knows where they're going to go, or where they should be going, but ideally, not here. Let's be serious, that's where they're going to end up. Our population's aging, their population's set to double. Wow, look at all that diversity, look at all those new Scots. All you need to do is think back to when the so-called refugee crisis first started. Wasn't too long after the fact that they started saying, well, since we've already got the refugees coming in, now might be a good time to announce that they're going to help our aging population problem. How convenient. How very fucking convenient. So anyway, Here's some more BS on the SNP's cringy website. A report published on Tuesday set out how Rainbow Unicorn Land could keep freedom of movement post-Brexit. And Stuart Big Boy McDonald said the report put flesh on the bones of what the SNP have been calling for to address Scotland's unique migration needs, the same migration needs that are so unique that they never bother their arse to attempt to rectify, mitigate and whatnot until now. Don't look at our failings, don't look at anything we've been doing for the past 12 years, now it's Brexit's fault. Freedom of movement's to blame, we're the end of. Fuck off, man. How do people fall for this garbage? They're such a shit party. And it's nothing to do with bias, because the majority of the rest of them, their counterparts, are not much better, but they're really just a dismal party. You know what I mean? Bragging about world leading action and X, Y and Z, bragging about free tampons, bragging about ambitious targets for non-existent man-made climate change. Oh, fucking bravo. Pat yourselves in the back, you bunch of dicks. Anyway, report by a leading immigration law firm strongly backs claims by ministers that a devolved or tailored immigration regime could be introduced to soften the blow. Oh, fuck off. And if Brexit wasn't happening, if this was not happening at all, what would you be saying then? Because the same problems would still be occurring. You just wouldn't have anything to blame. Freedom of movement in Scotland for EU citizens wins support. But this is where the crux of this argument comes into full effect as far as I'm concerned, because these people keep calling for devolved immigration powers, but they hide behind the facade of continuing EU freedom of movement. But that's not what this is about, because if we're going to take anything they have said to date in relation to demographic time bombs and whatnot seriously, then it stands to reason that the freedom of movement that they've got at their disposal currently hasn't been working. So, technically, with devolved immigration powers, they're going to have to go further afield. But they're not going to say that to you. Of course they're fucking not. They want to win public sentiment by lying to them. Standard practice for the Rainbow Unicorn Party. Standard practice. And their delusions know no bounds. Scotland is internationally recognised for championing progressive policies. Are we? We're internationally recognised. Maybe in your warped fucking head, thin lips, but we're not. And theoretically, Scotland hasn't really done much in the way of so-called progressive policies. What have you done? Well, you forced an LGBT emphasis in the T curriculum. You bragged about solving climate change, and you've implemented free tampons. Well, pat yourself on the back, thin lips. Pat yourself on the fucking back, eh? While poverty increases, food banks increase, the education system's failing miserably. And what's Sturgeon doing? Standing at podiums pretending she knows what she's talking about in relation to climate change or the coronavirus. And of course, Trevor Noah had to get in the act. The cringe continues.
And finally, for all those ladies out there who are sick and tired of how expensive tampons are, you might want to consider moving to the Highlands.
In Scotland, Parliament has just approved plans to make sanitary products freely available to all women.
Yes, poverty is that bad in Scotland that people can't afford 23p tampons from Tesco's.
The first nation in the world to do this. Now, the law would make tampons and sanitary pads available at designated public places like youth clubs and pharmacies. In 2018, Scotland became the first country in the world to provide free sanitary products in schools, colleges, and universities.
Yes, congratulations, Scotland, on being the first country to make sanitary products free to all the women who need it. Yeah, I think it should be like this everywhere. You know?
It's not free though, is it? But there you have it, folks. 2020 is really going to be a good year. I can feel it. Because we've had the one and only Trevor Noah endorsing our progressive bullshit.